We have so many different and amazing chitons here in the Pacific Northwest, from the giant gumboot to the weird and wonderful carnivorous veiled chiton. But today we're going to talk about three of our most common intertidal chitons around the Salish Sea that often get confused: the mossy, woody, and hairy chitons. By the end of this episode, I hope you will be a little better prepared to identify them when you are out exploring at low tide. So let's dive in. Chitons are part of the phylum Mollusca that includes clams, mussels, snails, octopuses, and squid. There's lots of diversity in this funky bunch. Chitons have been around for millions of years with essentially the same unchanged body plan. They typically have 8 exposed plates that are held together by a soft girdle that gives them flexibility to maneuver their way around the intertidal. Underneath their plates of armor, they have a soft foot, mantle, gills, mouth, and of course, anus. Our one exception is the gumboot chiton, sometimes called the wandering meatloaf. Their mantle extends over their hard plates, making them look more like a wandering rock or brick, in my opinion. This one was happily munching their way through the intertidal, and it was really cool to see. Chitons have a tongue-like organ inside their mouths called a radula, and it is pretty rad. Covered in hundreds of tiny sharp teeth and looking a bit like a zipper, they use this for scraping algae off rocks to eat. Very much this for all chitons. We love you, chitons. All right, so the way I like to remember how to identify the mossy chiton is that, to me, it looks hairy. I want it to be called a hairy so bad, but alas, it is not. They have super beefy, bristly hairs on their girdle that are stiff to the touch. Woody chitons are gorgeous and come in many colors. They have very fine hairs on the girdle that are soft to the touch. And the biggest identifier for me is that their plates often have a mottled pattern that looks a lot like Italian marbled paper. And last but not least, the hairy chiton. They have more prominent bristles on their girdle than the woody, but not as beefy as the mossy. A key identifier for these intertidal relatives is that very prominent posterior notch at the back end of their bodies. So, to recap, our mossy chitons have beef, bristly hairs on their girdle, they're stiff to the touch, and they look hairy. The woody chitons have very fine hairs on the girdle, their plates often have a mottled pattern that looks like marbled paper, and the plates can also have a wide variety of colors. The hairy chiton has softer, shorter hairs than the mossy, but more prominent than the woody, and they have that distinctive posterior notch. Thanks so much for being here with me today and learning about these 3 amazing intertidal animals. I look forward to talking with you soon. Happy low tides!